One of the biggest aha moments that a lot of the professionals that I work with, the leaders that I work with, get in their leadership development programs is the idea of being visible as a fundamentally critical way to develop your communication with the people that you lead. It is one of the single most powerful ways to just create connection, create rapport, to build trust between yourself and the people that you lead. Now, quite often when people go to a professional development course or attend some classes, they want to learn like these tips and these tricks on how to be a much more effective communicator. How do they better communicate through conflict? How do they build better rapport with their people? How do they become better conversationalists? But beyond all that, right, those are all skills that a person can develop. But beyond all that, deeper than that, just a very simple strategy is simply to be more visible. And what I mean by this is to get out of your office, right? Or to, if you're working hybrid, show up in people's chats or show up in your communications with the other individuals that you lead online somehow, somewhere. Contact them, connect with them. Because it's based on this idea that out of sight, out of mind. If you're out of sight, you're really not in a person's mind. And in order to communicate effectively, you need to have a really good relationship with the other individual, at least have some sort of a decent relationship. And the reason behind that is that a fundamental principle of communication is this. In any communication that you have with another individual, there's always two variables at play. One is the relationship variable, and the other is the message that you want to get across. And if there is fundamentally no good or decent or any type of relationship between you and the other individual, it becomes extremely hard to get a message across because the relationship is the filter through which the message has to get across. And this is essential if you are a leader and you're trying to communicate better, because ultimately leading is influence. And if you want to get your people to do things, oftentimes perhaps things that they may not otherwise want to do themselves on their own initiative, in their own mind, to influence them, you need to be able to communicate effectively. But remember, to communicate effectively, it's beyond the task. It's also having that relationship. Because if you think about it, think about a leader that you have a really good relationship with, and they ask you to do something that may require a little bit extra effort, a little bit more overtime, a little bit more working outside your comfort zone. Yeah, maybe you're not too excited about doing it, but you'll do it because you have a good relationship with them. However, think about the opposite, a leader that you may not necessarily particularly respect. You don't really know them because they're invisible. They're usually hiding, or you perceive them to be hiding in their office. And so when they ask you to do something difficult, there is really no motivation to do it. And then you take that one step even further. Imagine that there's a leader that you don't particularly like at all. What's the likelihood of you doing what they want? Virtually zero, or at the very least, you have to do it because it's your job. You're not going to put much effort into it. And so it is essential that if you want to become a great communicator and a great leader, to be visible. And I know that in today's world, leaders just really don't have that much time. But simply being visible, getting out of your office, going for walks in the different areas that you work, talking to people, showing up online, chatting, asking how people are, with the mindset of creating a rapport through connection. That's an investment so that when you do want to communicate with them, you're able to do so much more effectively. And it's also a very powerful tool to mitigate conflict. Because think about it this way, you mitigate conflict if you have a good relationship with someone. It's much better, easier to manage. But if you don't have really much of a good relationship with somebody, conflict is very difficult to mitigate. Think about, you go to a store and you have this disagreement with the person who's working there. There's really no connection. There's absolutely no connection with that individual. How difficult is it to mitigate conflict? It becomes very, very difficult. So the key message here, if you want to become a good communicator, you want to become a great leader, a simple, low effort tactic is simply to become more visible.